Rutro. He was known to ICE. He was in a prior violent occurrence about a week earlier with ICE. It doesn't mean it was okay to shoot and kill Alex Pretti, but it certainly means he's not some innocent guy just documenting ICE. No, there are reports that he was a member of ICE Watch, that violent group that is encouraged to attack officers, smack their hands when they're holding on to an illegal and they're transporting them, open the car door of the ICE folks or Border Patrol folks to release the illegal free, shove them, push them with all your might, with bursts of energy, etc. There are also communications on Signal. This has not been confirmed, but I'm just telling you what I've seen. There are communications on Signal. I can confirm that Kash Patel, the FBI director, has said he's going to be investigating, they are investigating, the Signal chat room for these ICE people because there could be criminal activity and conspiracy activities there. And if it crosses the state line, there could really be crime there, and I hope they freaking nail them. I told you yesterday, unconfirmed reports that were going on about perhaps the Flanagan, I believe it's Peggy Flanagan is her name, I think, the lieutenant governor, may be one of the folks involved in the ICE, what do you call it, the ICE Out app and what they're doing there with ICE Watch, and then also a top advisor to Tim Walz may be in there, among other elected Democrats in the state of Minnesota. So if that's confirmed, you have absolute evidence of how this is from the very top of the state down, a conspiracy to try to obfuscate and hinder federal officials from doing their lawful jobs that we voted for in this country with Donald J. Trump reelecting him. Now, Alex Pretti was no innocent man. And again, it doesn't mean he deserves to be shot, and I will tell you about that in more in depth in a moment. But Alex Pretti was not some kind, gentle soul that happened to be trying to document and such. No, he was in a violent tussle with ICE about a week earlier, to the point where it was so violent that he broke a rib, according to sources telling fake news CNN. You'll see the report in just a moment. But let me share some of the details that are very, very important to this. And it goes to the motive of Alex Pretti and what he was thinking and what he was doing and why he was doing it and whether he was cooperative or not. He was not cooperative. He did not get out of the way. He did not stop fighting with ICE. He did not say, I have a gun. And apparently the law in the state of Minnesota is when you interact with any law enforcement, you are to tell them, I have a lawfully owned gun on my person. And he didn't. And again, you can say it doesn't mean he should be shot, but he was illegally carrying a firearm. You cannot carry a lawful concealed carry like I carry 9.999 times out of 10 without having your ID. All right? My ID is usually right here in my man purse. Funny enough, it's actually right here. Because when I carry, I'm not playing around when I carry. And notice I carry in my front left pocket. I carry my weapon on my right-hand side right here. Wallet's on the opposite side. It's common sense, but some of us, like myself, had to be taught that early on so that we don't get shot by accident because we do something stupid. Alex Pretti was involved in a violent confrontation a week earlier with ICE. This was his M.O. Federal immigration officers have been collecting personal information, CNN reports today, of protesters and agitators in Minneapolis. They had documented details about Alex Pretti before. They knew who he was. Now, they don't know, and no one knows as of right now, except for the agents involved. No one knows if the agents involved knew of him because he was in the database, because he had a violent confrontation with them 1 week earlier. Nobody knows if those officers did. If they did, then that would be even more reason to take him into custody, continuing to obfuscate, hinder, and get violent in a tussle with ICE. Now, a week before his death, CNN reports, he suffered a broken rib when a group of federal officers tackled him while he was violently getting in a tussle, protesting their attempt to detain other individuals, trying to stop violent illegals and sex offender illegals from getting taken into custody. On Tuesday, the department also publicized an online tip form to share information about people allegedly harassing ICE. I support that. I support all of us, and I'm going to play a soundbite from Tom Holman in a minute where he talks about this. We're going to find out who you are, if you're obfuscating, if you're interfering with us, if you're messing with us, if you're trying to hinder us, and we're going to publish a database and put your name out there and everything so that your employer and everybody can see who you are. Because you are harassing and obfuscating and impeding law enforcement. Now, Tuesday, the Department of the DHS also publicized an online tip form. Okay, I mentioned that one. He stopped his car. The earlier incident, a week ago, he stopped his car after ICE was chasing perpetrators. He got into a tussle because he FAFO'd a week earlier. He wanted more. Unfortunately, you'll see a great Venn diagram which shows, unfortunately, it's why he's dead. He was left with a broken rib. That day, CNN sources say, quote, that day Alex Pretti 1 week ago thought he was going to die. So what did he do the following week? He did the same thing with carrying a weapon and tussling with freaking federal law enforcement. That can get you killed. And unfortunately for Alex, it did. Quote, the source told CNN, that day Alex Pretti thought he was going to die. He was later given medication consistent with treating a broken rib, according to records reviewed by Fake News CNN. Pretti's name was also known to federal agents. So this guy was already known. His MO is clear. He's not some nice guy that's filming. He is there to obfuscate, hinder, and tussle and get violent with ICE. It's sad that he's dead. But he played with freaking fire, and he did it with a freaking firearm on him. You cannot do that stuff and expect everything to be okay. It's absolute sheer foolishness and stupidity, and it's terrible that the man is dead. Now, it was also not clear whether federal agents recognized him before they confronted him, as I already mentioned. This is CNN's report. You're going to see the actual physical report. Here's the headline from Fake News CNN, by the way. There it is right there. The headline that has been widely distributed now, Alex Pretti broke a rib in confrontation with federal agents a week before his death. Sources say. This is so clear, this was entirely preventable. With Alex Pretti's apparent radicalization, he is now dead. Continuing on, one thing I'm pushing for now, said Tom Holman, and you're going to see this in a second. We're going to create a database for all those arrested for interference, impeding, and assault, and make them famous. We're going to put their face on TV. We're going to let every employer in their neighborhoods and their schools know who these people are. Exactly. Kash Patel says the agency is now investigating Signal group chats with these people that are harassing ICE. People cannot create a scenario, Patel says, that illegally entraps and puts law enforcement in harm's way. Thank you. On Tuesday, DHS, they talked about Signalgate with Pete Hegseth. Well, here's their Signalgate. On Tuesday, DHS, and by the way, imagine if they find the lieutenant governor of the state of Minnesota is involved in this. Imagine if they find, which is reported, that Tim Walz's top advisor is involved in this and doing the admin of this group. This is going to be terrible because these people are partially responsible for Alex Pretti being dead. He is chiefly responsible for his own death, not ICE. Not ICE. I'll go into that in just a moment. Tuesday, DHS announced an investigation into a U.S. citizen who attempted... Oh, listen to this. This is the kind of crap we're talking about. Tuesday, DHS announced they're launching an investigation into a U.S. citizen who attempted to, quote, purchase firearms on 2 separate occasions, wanted to protect herself from ICE, and also to kill ICE agents. That's what's going on. We reviewed this yesterday. And by the way, here's another thing from Fake News CNN's Julie Kelly, who you'll see reporting this in just a second. Quote, she tweeted this out. According to sources, Fake News CNN's Julie Kelly says, Pretti was already known to federal authorities for his involvement in obstructing raids and targeting officers. That is why he's dead, along with carrying a firearm and deciding to be destructive and tussling and obstructing. Another thing here they say is separately is it's not been confirmed whether Pretti's gun fired any shots. I will tell you this, and this is very important again. Alex Pretti is dead. Let me show you I'll show you the Venn diagram because that's very important about why he's dead. And this is from a Croc Talk listener, Croc Talk with Chris Croc. This is a member of Croc's flock. I think his name is Martin F. This is his last name. Abbreviation Martin sent me this. Always, as a Croc flock, you're watching, you're following me right now, if you're part of the Croc flock, send me stuff. Mail me stuff, email me stuff, message me, DM me through my social media channels. I will always see that or make it comments on this post. Here's the Venn diagram from Martin F. There you have the Venn diagram. So what happens is if you're carrying a firearm and you're protesting at the same time, that is risky. That's true. I think we all know that. It's risky because who knows what could come up to you. People that disagree with you can come up to you. I've done protests before. I've led them in the Atlanta area, for example, with several hundred people that showed up there. Now, if you are carrying a firearm and protesting impeding law enforcement at the same time, there's your skull and crossbones in that Venn diagram, the red area. And that's where he played in. That's where he trafficked in. That's why Pretti trafficked in that red zone. And I mean, we don't know, but I have every reason to believe the man was also, while he tussled the last time, was probably carrying his firearm. We don't know. I'm not trying to say he was, but how much you want to bet he was carrying it then too? You can't do these things. His parents say they warned him, go and do your thing, but don't get involved. Don't get in a tussle. And he did that. And unfortunately, that's why he's dead. What happened was, from everything I see, and don't say you saw the video. There's videos, a whole bunch of them. What happened was he was carrying his firearm illegally because he didn't have an ID on it to show that he was a lawful permanent concealed carry holder. And he also chose to protest, which is legal, but then he chose to obstruct and tussle. When you obstruct and tussle with federal law enforcement or even local law enforcement and you're armed, that's a huge, huge, huge risk and a stupid one. Very freaking stupid. Now you're involving a weapon with a tussle with law enforcement. One false move and you're dead. Philando Castile, also in Minneapolis, St. Paul, he was pulled over. And he had a little 9-year-old girl in the backseat of the car. He was freaking so high, there was weed all over the car. According to the police officer, they could smell it, the body cam. And he was with his girlfriend, baby mama, and a 9-year-old in the backseat while he's freaking smoking weed. It's all smokes all in the car. What does he do? He says, "Oh, I have a lawfully carried weapon on me." And they say, "Don't move, don't move, don't reach for it, don't reach for it." And he goes to reach for his wallet or whatever it was. And he keeps going while they're saying, "Don't move, don't move, don't move, don't move." Because they think he's reaching for his gun, but he's high. And that's why he was shot and killed on that stop, and that's why that cop did not get prosecuted. You bring a weapon, and you involve that in law enforcement, there's a risk. What did they tell me, and what do I do in Texas, and what should anybody who's carrying concealed weapon lawfully or open carry, doesn't matter. What is the first thing you do when you get pulled over? Well, the first thing the first thing is you keep your hands right here on the wheel. Also, before you even get to the car, you can turn your lights on. That's even another bonus. Hands are where it matters. This is what gets them killed. Hands up on the steering wheel. You tell him as soon as he comes up about license and registration, or do you know why I pull him? Officer, first thing I want to tell you is I'm carrying a firearm lawfully. I have a permit to carry. It's on, he'll jump in first, probably say, where is it? And for me, it's on my right hip. My wallet, sir, is in my left front pocket, nowhere near my gun on my right hip. Do you want me to reach for it? He is in charge. I don't go like Philando Castile, who's high, going, stop, because I'm not high. And then he tells me what to do, and I follow it. And that's how you don't die. Unfortunately, Alex Pretti was, according to CNN, violently confronting ICE and Border Patrol officers on a regular occurrence, to the point where he thought he was going to die and his rib was broken. What did he do? Come back a week later? He came back a week later armed. These actions are somebody who seems to be begging to freaking die. I'm not saying he was begging to die, but the actions are of somebody who literally seems to be begging to die or is radicalized. There are unconfirmed reports, and I won't even say it. It has something to do with his job and whether he left his job or not. I'm not going to say I believe that in any way, shape, or form. That was something once on online today, and I'm just not going to pretend like it's even real. But if that, I wouldn't be surprised if he did quit his job, because it would jibe with everything. This guy's a radical. He's a radical person who has no problem with literally going up to federal officers and freaking getting violent with them. And going back after he almost dies the next week with a firearm on him. Those actions are somebody who appears to be begging to die. The shoot was clean because while they were tussling, His second tussle in 1 week. Violent tussle, second one in 1 week. People like you and me, we got into that the week prior. We wouldn't be going back out and doing it the same week. It's a freaking death wish. Especially when the first time he said he wanted to die. He felt like he was going to die. And that was a huge, huge problem. He was tussling with them while he was armed. Looks like my little software dropped. I want to make sure I'm still good. All right. This was a clean shoot. It was terrible. As terrible as. All right, just making sure my little technology is still going here. Okay. So, it was a clean shoot because he chose to get involved and get violent with ICE while he was, in this case, Border Patrol, while he was protesting and then getting violent with them. He did not tell them he had a gun. He did not keep his hands up. He did not stop resisting and fighting with them. They saw a gun. They yelled, "Gun, gun, gun." One of the Border Patrol agents appears to have taken Okay, we're still good now. Just wanted to make sure sorry. One of the agents appears to have taken his gun away. And it appears the other agents, most if not all of them, had no idea that the gun was no longer on his person. We saw the magazine, which it holds 20 rounds, which apparently is a high-capacity magazine. Some people get mad about that because it's a liberal term. That's your decision if you want to get mad about it or not. But they had no idea if the gun was gone, is what I believe happened. The gun appears to have discharged as the Border Patrol officer walked away in like literally 5 feet or a second later. The gun discharges, then they heard gun, gun, gun. Now there's a discharge, bomb, 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 bomb. And the officer that appears to have hit him 10 times with bullets appears to be directly behind him. And what that means is there's a gun. He looks like he's doing this. He looks like he's coming up. There was a discharge. It's over. Now he's firing at us. He's down. That's it. Shoot to stop the threat. And he did. Clean shoot is what I believe is going to happen, unequivocally. Sad. Let's go to Fake News CNN with their report on this. Here we go. Wouldn't you know it, Alex Pretti broke a rib in a violent confrontation with feds a week before death. Here's Fake News CNN.
Alex Pretti had a physical encounter with federal agents about a week before he was shot and killed by law enforcement. Sources tell CNN that Pretti broke a rib when a group of federal officers tackled him while he was protesting. Priscilla Alvarez is breaking that story for us. What else are you hearing, Priscilla?
Dana, we're learning more details along with my colleague Jeff Winter about what exactly transpired a week before Alex Pretti was shot in Minneapolis and died this past weekend. Now, in this earlier incident, he stopped his car after observing ICE agents chasing what he described as a family on foot and began shouting and blowing his whistle. Pretti later told one of these sources that 5 agents tackled him and one leaned on his back, appearing to leave him with a broken rib. According to this source, and I'm quoting here, that source said, quote, "That day he thought he was going to die." Now, Pretti was later given medication that is consistent with treating a broken rib, according to records reviewed by CNN. Sources also say that he was known to federal law enforcement, though it's unclear whether it was this incident or another with federal agents that they knew of him. It's also unclear whether the officers who tackled him on Saturday knew who he was. What we do know, however, is that federal immigration officers have been collecting personal information of protesters and agitators within the context of what the Department of Homeland Security has warned is repeated threats towards officers as they are conducting immigration enforcement operations. In fact, just Tuesday, the department also publicized an online tip form to share information about people allegedly harassing ICE officers.
Okay, that's the gist of it. Here's my question for you. You can comment in the chat room. I'll see it if you're watching me on Rumble. I think the Facebook ones go through as well on live chat. And if you were protesting ICE, I know there's probably not a snowball's chance in hell that you would be protesting ICE as a follower of mine, but if you, as a member of the flock, cross flock, but if you were following ICE and protesting and getting violent with them and getting in their way, and then you got into a tussle with them, a violent tussle with 5 of them, and your rib was broke, and you felt like you were going to die, would you come back a week later with a firearm on your person? No, unless you had a death wish. That's what I think this young man had. This man had, not a young man, but that's what I think this man had, a death wish. I mean, there's no other thing I could see. Let's go to Tom Holman, who is now in charge of Minneapolis. As we know, Gregory Bavino was not demoted, by the way. He was moved out, as some Border Patrol officers were. Holman has moved in. He met with Mayor Frey today and Governor Walz. You can see Governor Walz act a freaking clown and fool this afternoon, Tuesday afternoon. But first, let's go to Holman today or yesterday. I can't remember which one it was, on Laura Ingraham.
This job and these people who want to say follow ICE, and film ICE. You know what? You can protest. They have that right. But when you cross that line, and we've proven it, if you interfere or impede or assault an ICE officer, you will be prosecuted. And one thing I'm pushing for right now, Laura, we're going to create a database where those people that are arrested for interference, impediment, assault, we're going to make them famous. We're going to put their face on TV. We're going to let their employers in their neighborhoods, in their schools, know who these people are. Because as you said, a lot of these people, they say they're taking time off work to protest. I bet you a lot of them are calling in sick. I bet you a lot of their employers don't know what they're doing. But we're going to make sure everybody knows who they are. We're going to broadcast. They want to broadcast the ICE officer that was nearly killed all over the internet. We're going to broadcast every one of these people we arrest.
Yeah, I think that may have been from a week or two ago, but that's absolutely right, and I agree with it 110%. Look at this. Tim Walz turning the heat up today, not bringing the temperature down. After he met with Tom Holman today, look what he does. He goes on a leftist show and says this. Absolute stupidity.
I would beat the shit out of him now if I could, and I would call that out. I mean, that's just different. In verbally going at it, my argument is much better. In making the case that housing prices are up because of immigration and that we should build on federal lands, it was such a crazy thing. But then when I watched him, I got sucked into that. And if you remember, this was right in that moment of eating dogs and cats. I took that bait and thought that that was the argument.
He's talking about J.D. Vance, and he would beat the shit out of him. Now, excuse my language, I'm quoting him. So this is what he's doing after he meets with Tom Holman today, saying he would, quote, beat the shit out of J.D. Vance. This guy is a pansy and a fool, and he's desperate because he knows he's going down. He already gave up his third term run, which is unprecedented for the state of Minnesota, period. They've never had a third run for governor. But he always does this. He acts a total and complete nincompoop because he wants to make up for what's going on. You know why he did that, by the way? Here's why he did that. Look what was going on today outside of his office before he did this interview.
Justice denied! Justice delayed! Justice denied!
Oops, hold on one second. Let me put that back up.
Justice denied!
And there you go. There you have it. So that's what he was doing. Tim Walz. What am I got going on here? I got some kind of a duplicate thing. All right, so that's what Tim Walz was doing while they were screaming out there. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to go on a leftist podcast and say that I would beat the s out of what's his name, J.D. Vance." That's what happens when everybody's coming after you, and you're losing, and you're not going to come back from it. You say vile things like that. Hey, what happens? What happens when police officers are allowed to do their jobs and protect ICE? Not being involved in immigration raids, but protect ICE. I think it's Maplewood, suburban Maplewood, I believe it is, where ICE agents, including Gregory Bavino, were thought to be at. These radical crazies surrounded a hotel in Maplewood and were attacking it and trying to keep them up all night by protesting and getting nasty outside of a hotel. And look what happens. By the way, this is not Minnesota State Troopers. This is Maplewood Police, and that's because they don't mess around. If this was in Minneapolis, nothing would have been done. You saw yesterday in the podcast violence, bloody hands, trash, windows shattered at a hotel in Minneapolis because the city of Minneapolis has made a choice to never help ICE, even if it's to keep the peace of the community. They'd rather have the community be unpeaceful. This is what happens when local cops, are allowed to do their job. It stops ASAP. Watch. Hold on. I'm going to jump a little ahead here to some more action.
Back behind the line, please. Back behind the line.
That dude's cuffed and stuffed. That's what happens when you FAFO in a suburb.
Good. Give me about 3 more feet, okay? Thank you.
I'll jump ahead a little more. Here you go. This is what happens. There's another one arrested. Merry Christmas, D-bag. Okay. It's a choice. It's a choice that the Minneapolis chooses not to do, and it's a choice that the state of Minnesota chooses not to do. But the law can be enforced. Why are the leftists and radicals doing this? I'm going to show you why. This is a map and a post by Ryan James Gradusky. And what you're going to see here, you're going to see that even if cackling Kamala or Gavin Newsom wins the blue wall, they're going to lose. Here's his analysis of the reapportionment. It's even worse for Democrats, as he says. When we reapportion from the new census of 2025, 11 electoral college votes are lost. Blue states lose 11 electoral college votes. The purple states gain 1. The red states gain 10. They lose 11, we gain 10. If we held North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona, we win the presidency for a decade. That's why they're doing what they're doing. That's why they're violent. That's why they're trying to stop. And that's why the state of Minnesota is doing everything it can to help join the cause. It's a partisan decision to attack and tussle with, terrorize, obfuscate, and impede law enforcement, legal and lawful law enforcement. Here's a nice little nugget of the crazies. Ryan Eklund, a U.S. citizen and real estate agent in Woodbury, Minnesota, it's a suburb, just east of St. Paul, where I used to live, recalled he was filming ICE agents from his vehicle in a grocery store parking lot. I'm just a nice real estate agent. He said an agent took a photograph of his face, good, and told him to stop following. When Eklund continued following, he said the agent led him past his own home. Just past Eklund's own house on a cul-de-sac. DHS says that he blocked law enforcement in a cul-de-sac and refused commands to exit his vehicle, which is why they grabbed him and arrested him. And I'm glad they did. That's where he belongs, in a prison when you do that. And I'm glad ICE is going to their homes, running their plates and going to their homes. We know where you live. You want to find out where we live. You want to follow us. You want to impede. No problem. Let's go to your house. Let's have you follow us to your house. I love it. I absolutely love it. Minnesota does not cooperate, unlike what Tim Walz says. They have failed to honor, Minnesota jails have failed to honor more than 800 ICE detainers in the last 2 years alone. The prisons for the state, after the people serve their time, like 5 years, 10 years in prison, they give them over to ICE after prisons, but they do not cooperate with cities, counties, or local police in any way. If they arrest them, they don't tell ICE there's an illegal that's just been arrested and is in jail. And that's a huge problem. And that's why there's so much going on in Minneapolis and St. Paul. No other state has this going on. You know it, and I know it. Texas, where reportedly 23% of all the illegals are rounded up and arrested, has never had a situation like this because our governor and most local officials will not play with that. They will not mess with it. They won't put up with it. They will not. This is a great comment from somebody online that I reposted and printed out. The people who told you last week that Tom Homan is a fascist are now gloating that he's taking over ICE operations in Minnesota. Last week he's a fascist. Now they're gloating that he's in charge. Next week they'll be calling him a fascist again. Absolutely correct. Same person also said this: we'd be fine with you deporting violent criminals, just not peaceful illegal aliens. Quote, he says, you've spent a year fighting against the deportation of a man suspected of international gang involvement, accused domestic violence, and this person left out human trafficking, who's been, and of taking pictures of a minor naked for enticement of others. He's been under a removal order since 2019. So, yeah, the peaceful, illegal Kumar they've been supporting vocally, as we all know. Fox News' Bill Melugin reporting this. If reports are true, the Dems are demanding judicial warrants for all ICE arrests as part of DHS funding bill. They want judicial warrants for all ICE arrests. That will take a massive amount of targets off the board for ICE, Melugin reports. They would only be able to go after illegal immigrants who have committed a new federal crime after entering the U.S. illegally. So the only way they can get judicial warrants is if the illegals, the 10 to 20 million illegals that Joe Biden let invade in 4 years, if they commit a new federal crime after they came here this time. So, I mean, it would absolutely be ridiculous. State and local crimes would not apply because feds don't enforce state and local. What a joke, these people. What a joke. Ted Cruz is saying today what I said yesterday. What did I say yesterday? I said that saying that the deceased Alex Pretti, calling him a domestic terrorist, saying that he planned on massacring law enforcement, as Kristi Noem and I can't remember the other one, Stephen Miller said, wrong. He's not actually. I might be willing to call him a terrorist, actually, because of the prior violent tussle where he thought he was going to die and coming back a week later. He very well may be a terrorist. We'll see how more comes up. But actually, I'm now leaning towards calling him a terrorist. What do you do if you are showing up and attacking federal law enforcement officers and stopping them from doing their jobs and getting violent with them? What is that? That's a terrorist. The escalating rhetoric doesn't help, Ted Cruz says, and actually loses credibility. And that's what I said yesterday. No, it's not okay to call the guy a terrorist. Now we know more, though, where actually he may be a terrorist. And no, it's not okay to say he was showing up to massacre law enforcement. He was not. There's no indication of that. Now, if something comes out, then sure, but that was really ridiculous and stupid. When you say these things, do you not realize you'll have to walk them back in a day or two or three? You could be wrong. Don't say stuff like that. It's so stupid. Governor Greg Abbott said yesterday, Texas governor said White House needs to recalibrate ICE's mission to rebuild public trust after Pretty's shooting. They should get back to what they wanted to do to begin with and focus on removing people from the country who are here illegally. So some criticism, which I gave yesterday, and understandable. Now let's get to, we have a couple different things. Our grid. In the state of Texas, our grid. Because a lie was just told by the likes of Dallas Morning News. I'm sure you're surprised about that. Weekends freeze. Actually, what's funny is we had two columns today. One from the Dallas Morning News I'm going to share with you from a leftist green guy. Lies that were printed on the Dallas Morning News. And then we have truth printed in the Wall Street Journal debunking exactly what the Dallas Morning News published today. It's a coincidence, but it's a great coincidence. Let's start with the leftist Dallas Morning News and a column written by a man who is the executive director of Environment Texas Research and Policy Center, pursuing a greener future. They're totally leftists in the tank for all the batteries and the windmills and all that stuff, which is horrible, which is why our grid in Texas almost fully collapsed 5 years ago during Winter Storm Uri. Here's what this guy writes in the Dallas Morning News today. One of the most striking changes is the dramatic growth in renewable energy. Wind and solar, once treated as secondary resources, are now central to keeping light and heat on in Texas. That's a lie. Solar power has surged at record speed, last year producing more electricity than coal for the first time in historic history of the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, ERCOT, the state's grid operator. Dude, let me tell you something. If solar power is producing more than coal, we're screwed, and I mean that. In fact, he mentions in here what I've been telling you for 5 years that I got from the Wall Street Journal 5 years ago, that 1/3 of our entire grid is our 1/3 of our entire base load, which is what we need to keep the state just on a normal day running. 1/3 of it is windmills and solar, and that's a disaster because when the wind's not blowing and the sun's not shining, we're screwed. And that is why the grid almost collapsed. And the only reason it didn't collapse, putting us with no power in this state for 3 or 4 months at least, if that happened, the only reason is because natural gas and coal cranked it up. It was coal that partially saved the day, but it was truly natural gas that turned it up to 11, if not 15, out of 10. So here comes this guy saying renewable energy sources now provide more than 1/3. I signed that. I circled that. You know why? Because 1/3 is what I've been telling you for 5 years. 1/3 of the base load is green, and that is bad. Because when the sun don't shine, when the wind don't blow, like what happened 5 years ago, we are screwed. Renewable sources, he says, now provide more than 1/3 of the electricity in ERCOT. That has not only reduced air pollution and water use, but it has strengthened grid reliability and diversifying power sources while saving consumers billions of cash. Total BS. I've already explained why. Here's his lie, too. Look at this. Battery energy storage has grown even more quickly than the solar power stores. And people have called in and told me that on shows when I'm filling in Dallas. And that's also a lie. I'll give you that from the Wall Street Journal now. Okay, so the Wall Street Journal today, same day, different column from the Wall Street Journal. Thank heaven, and they mentioned Texas in this, backing everything I've just told you up. Thank heaven for coal power in the cold, says the Wall Street Journal editorial board today. North American Electric Reliability Corp warned in November, they say, that extreme winter conditions extending over a wide area could result in electric supply shortfall. And that's what happened, they say. Grid operators in the Midwest and Northeast, not Texas, we'll get to that in a moment. In the Midwest and Northeast, grid operators, the utilities, and the Trump Energy Department had to pull out all the stops to keep the lights and heat on for tens of millions of Americans because of the green crap. Utilities in the Midwest Saturday directed customers to lower their thermostats. That's where they're at in the Midwest's grid. Please lower your thermostats or the grid might collapse. That's where we're going to go in Texas if this keeps up, and that's why we almost collapsed, because green energy has bastardized our grid because the federal government subsidizes green energy. Energy companies don't care what kind of energy they make. They just want to make money with energy, and they go to the low-hanging fruit where the feds are subsidizing, incentivizing them to do solar and wind, which we should be counter-incentivizing. Supposedly we passed a bill or two that help to try to counter-incentivize it. It's not enough. It's not enough. We need to do more and more, or we're going to have a true grid collapse. And it's going to be the fault of Governor Greg Abbott, Governor Rick Perry, and Governor George W. Bush, because they all allowed the incentivization of green energy instead of fighting back against it and saying it publicly that we can't have a grid like this. Abbott has never repudiated that, and he's wrong. I told you 2 weeks after Winter Storm Uri, the one 5 years ago that almost collapsed the grid, that 2 weeks earlier he had received an award from the wind energy industry in Texas. And I said he should say, I apologize for receiving this award. I'm going to give it back right now. I regret not fighting and allowing solar and wind to become part of our grid. It never should have become part of the grid. It should be an extra. And he never did that. He never apologized, never gave his award back from the green people. That it was destroyed our grid and now are destroying our grid. The Energy Department, Wall Street Journal reports, waived emissions rules so fossil fuel plants could run at maximum capacity. They waived the rules, Trump did, to keep our grids working. Coal accounted for some 40% of power. See this idiot in the Dallas Morning News? We're being saved by solar and wind. Liar. We're being saved by batteries that hold power. Liar. Here, I'll get into that now. Coal accounted for some 40% of power in the Midwest MISO grid, MISO. 24% of Eastern U.S. PJM, which is a massive one, supplying power for millions and millions and millions, like tens of millions of people in the east and the coast and the Midwest. So coal accounted for 40% of Midwest MISO grid and 24% of the eastern U.S. PJM interconnection. And coal supplied 18% of Texas power this weekend, right now. We have not collapsed our grid in Texas because 18% of the power is coal. Guys like that clown that make this stuff up or lie want to shut down all of our coal-fired power plants so that we can look to others to provide for us, just like Europe does with Russia. Hell no. The Journal continues on. I'm almost done, but New York's blockade on gas pipelines has constrained the fuel supply for power plants across New England, shutting down and saying no to new pipelines for natural gas. Power plants in the region, the Northeast, had to resort to burning oil, which accounted for 40% of electricity at times of peak demand. Get this, the Journal says, the region in the Northeast generated more power from burning wood and trash than from wind power. This idiot in the Dallas Morning News. They say that Climate Crowd claims that solar and wind and batteries can replace fossil fuels, but those sources contributed the little power in most places over the weekend, the Journal reports. Solar, wind, and batteries, little power in the most places over the weekend. Solar is not reliable during inclement weather. Batteries can discharge power only for a few hours of a time. Oh, we have all these batteries. It can only release power a few hours at a time. What do we do the rest? Collapse the grid? I think so. So batteries can only discharge power for a few hours at a time, which doesn't help much during a storm that stretches for a day or two, not a few hours at a time. That's all they got is a few hours at a time. Not a day or two or three. It's all a lie. The Energy Department, they say, issued emergency orders in recent months to stop the political closure of coal plants in the Midwest. Yep. Saving the left from themselves. Truly. H-1B visas are huge. It's a huge issue. And I am alarmed at H-1B visas, and you should be too. All over the place in Texas. Governor Abbott has ordered freezes on all new H-1B visas. You can't do one until he finishes a review until May of 2027. You cannot initiate or file for a new H-1B visa until May of 2027. He has ordered all Texas public universities and state agencies to free new H-1B visa applications until the next legislative session ends in 2027. Here's the question. You're going to hear the categories. It's insane. It is absolutely insane how many people they're the largest sponsor of H-1B visas in Texas. Dallas ISD, at least in North Texas, Dallas ISD School District. The Dallas School District is the number one user of H-1B visas in North Texas. Wow. Who is educating our children? The Fort Worth ISD is also one of the largest sponsors of H-1B visas. Who is educating our children? Who are these people? Where are they from? What are their values? What in God's name is going on? Do you know who's educating your child? Absolutely insane. The governor wants to create guardrails for the H-1B program and for the federal government to implement its reforms. Abbott says he wants to identify what jobs H-1B visa holders are filling that he believes cannot be filled by Texans, because I think a lot of jobs are getting stolen. Abbott suggested that some employers have failed to make good faith efforts to recruit U.S. workers before seeking foreign workers. I do not doubt that they're not putting forth a real good faith effort to hire Texans and Americans before they hire people from outside of this dang country. This is horrible. Meanwhile, Trump is seeking to transform the H-1B visa program, including, this is very good, it's very important, a $100,000 fee for new petitioners for H-1B. $100,000. That better be for each job. It prioritizes workers with higher pay and skills. Again, Can't Americans do these jobs? Because if they can, and the companies can train Americans to do the job if we force them to do that. Rather than serving its purpose for the best and brightest, attracting the best and brightest, it's filling truly special and from people around our nation to fill truly specialized and unmet labor needs. The program has too often been used, Abbott says, to give jobs that would otherwise and could and should be filled by Texans. Exactly. DISD is one of the biggest sponsors of H-1B visas among public school. Whoa! Not in North Texas, in the freaking U.S. Dallas School District. Dallas ISD is one of the biggest sponsors of H-1B visas among public school districts in the United States. 230 foreigners are teaching your child at DISD. Is it your child's teacher? A foreigner. Would you ever envision a foreigner teaching your child in a public school? Oh my gosh. Who else is at the top of this? We have Dallas ISD, by the way, refused to comment. No, we don't want to let you know. We don't want to talk about the fact that we're the biggest importer of foreigners to teach children in America, in Dallas. UT Southwestern Medical Center is the second largest sponsor with 228 foreigners. Texas A&M, 214. University of Texas, MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, 171. The University of Texas at Austin, 169. Other Dallas-Fort Worth area school districts at the top of the sponsors of H-1B visas, UT Dallas, 73. Holy gosh. UT Arlington, 57. University of North Texas, 42. SMU, 31. I mean, you really say who is teaching our children, like at elementary, and middle school, and high school, and college. Governor Abbott directed all state agencies to provide the Texas Workforce Commission with information about its H-1B visa sponsorship by March. They want the countries of origin, job classification, depictions for them. Also asked for documentation that demonstrates efforts to provide quality Texas candidates with reasonable opportunity to apply. Prove it. That's just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Now we're gonna end the podcast in a couple minutes on some really good notes. Something with Trump and prayer, and something with baby eaglets, just so you know, or eaglets, little baby eagles, okay? But first, the weather. Have you survived the storm? Did your pipes burst? I hope they didn't burst. If you're following my advice, your pipes wouldn't burst. What's my advice? Not only should you keep your door open underneath the cabinets, kitchen, that's against your outside wall. If you have a laundry room like I do on the outside wall also, that is, I have a space heater blowing behind there on the wall. I have a space heater underneath the sink blowing under there. However, it's not going to freeze again until, let's see, the official forecast of the Croc Talk with Chris Croc podcast. Let's see, the official temperature of the Croc Talk with Chris Croc podcast, 33 degrees. We're not below freezing, so obviously, there we go. Oh, look at this, guys. Brand new. This is not good, even though Ilhan Omar is nasty. Ilhan Omar sprayed by unknown substance. This just broke. Ilhan Omar sprayed by unknown substance after man charges her at Minneapolis Town Hall, Fox News reported. She was sprayed with an unknown substance by a man that charged her while she was speaking at a town hall Tuesday night in Minneapolis. She was pulled away by her security. Unidentified man tackled and restrained by security. All right. Well, there it is. Let's see. I can pull it up pretty much right now. Here, hold on. Let me tweet it. I'll pull it up right now. We can watch it together and see what that's all about, okay? Boom. It's on my Twitter feed, at Chris Croc Show. That's at Chris Croc Show, ChrisKrok. And I'm going to put it into my repertoire of things so that you can see it yourself. Okay. Hold on. Paste. Okay, and here we go. Let's let it come up. And we'll see what happens here. Okay, this is Ilhan Omar apparently getting sprayed with some kind of a substance.
Or impeachment.
Just kind of freezes there. Okay. All right. There's, I guess, one channel. There you go. They got the guy. That just happened. Huh. Obviously, that's not okay in any way, shape, or form. Whoever that is got to be exposed and taken to justice. A lot of swears. I'm only getting that left channel or right channel, one of the channels out of the two. So there you have it. Ilhan Omar sprayed with an unknown substance.
Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment.
There we go. Okay. Well, I'm glad she's okay as of right now. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, well, I'm glad she's okay. She was swearing up a storm and yelling and going nuts and everything. Glad she's okay. Okay, here we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly and stupid people with the cold weather we're having. National Weather Service says use caution on secondary roads in North Texas as the ice melts. Oh, by the way, here's clickbait. It first happened with an old friend of mine, a dear newscaster friend of mine who died at my old radio station here in town, in Dallas-Fort Worth. And but he and I got into an argument all the time, and I said he was wrong. He said cobblestone ice. Remember when the Super Bowl was here? And he was reporting about cobblestone ice. We have cobblestone ice. And I said, there's no such thing as cobblestone ice. It's made up. Just like thunder sleet. There's no such freaking thing as thunder sleet. It was made up clickbait term. As ice melts and refreezes, Star Telegram says in Fort Worth today, in North Texas, there's a chance for cobblestone ice. I think there's a chance for clickbait. Whatever melts will refreeze again tonight over Tuesday as sub-freezing temperatures return. One of the things that could appear during this process is called cobblestone ice. Here's what to know about it. And then it's just total clickbait. In 2013, North Texans battled cobblestone ice on several streets and highways. Cobblestone ice. The National Weather Service describes frozen precipitation that was reformed into rock-hard formations. Is there cobblestone ice in North Texas? Get out of here. I think there's clickbait in North Texas. Is there school tomorrow? Fox 4 says in Dallas-Fort Worth, DISD, Dallas ISD, and Fort Worth ISD, no school tomorrow. Other North Texas school districts waiting to see what the roads will look like. So I can't tell you about yours if you're not in Fort Worth or Dallas, but Fort Worth and Dallas closed again on Wednesday. It is what it is, man. I'm not going to say it's a bad decision. I know it's an ice rink, at least in the morning. Tuesday, this afternoon, was the first day to break, to 37 degrees. But I know it's going to freeze overnight tonight. In fact, let's go back to the official forecast of the Chris Crock Show, my iPhone, and let's see what we're going to look like for tonight's low temperature. Low of 23 degrees. And it's going to be for several hours. So I'm restarting up my heaters. Okay. Over 200 traffic crashes. Here's the idiots. Over 200 traffic crashes in Fort Worth during winter storm. You know how many crashes we had in this household? None. You know why? We didn't go anywhere. Fort Worth police officers assisted more than 400 stranded drivers this weekend through Tuesday morning as motorists dealt with icy roads, bitter cold, and hazardous travel. 418 stranded motorist idiots. 240 traffic accidents. Dude, what are you doing driving in this? 97 weather-related hazards and 68 transports to shelters. God help these people that are dealing with this cold outside. There's a beautiful story of a convenience store owner in, I think, Fort Worth, or on the Fort Worth side of the Metroplex. And there was a woman, one of his customers at the convenience store, said she's across the street. He went over there, he picked her up, and he carried her. She was like curled into a little ball, this elderly woman. You can see on the camera of the store on the outside, he carries her in. God bless that man. She's going to be okay. They're doing a GoFundMe page, but God bless that man, and God bless that woman. It's a very serious time for them. Oh, my gosh. Homeless people, get in at all costs, please. Dallas Sheriff's Patrol rescues drivers stranded on icy roads. Here we go. Officials warn that even essential workers are getting stuck on dangerous highway shoulders where icy conditions make basic repairs nearly impossible. Stay off the freaking roads. Dallas received hundreds of complaints. Oh, this is sad. It makes me angry. Dallas received hundreds of complaints about animals outside during freezing temperatures. This makes me very mad. It makes all of us very mad. Dallas Animal Service received 401 weather-related complaints from Friday through Tuesday morning, mostly involved dogs left outside with no shelter. Now, huskies actually can be out there on this. They thrive in this weather. But if you own a husky in North Texas, I think you really should not own a husky in North Texas. They cannot stand the hot weather. They can die very easily in the 4 months of hell we have here, 4 or 5 months of hell. So you shouldn't have a husky here. You really shouldn't. Those can, though, survive outside just fine in this weather. Other than that, no. State law requires animals left outside to have access to shelter and potable water. Alvarado, this is, I think it's Sheriff, Daniel Alvarado, Assistant GM for Field Operations for Dallas County Sheriffs, I believe, or Humane Society, Dallas Animal Services. He says that animals must have shelter with no leaks that insulate from inclement weather. Thank you to everybody who called the police on these people, these sick bleeps. Most weather-related violations, he says, have to do with the perception of animals. It's how they were brought up, and they just don't see what role an animal has in their lifestyle. Sickening. While dog breeds like Husky are okay and built to withstand cold, they still require shelter, they say. My cat, I don't like saying I have a cat. I'm not a fan, but I like this one because my wife and daughter asked me, and I broke down and said, fine, as long as you take care of it. I now like this thing. And I don't let her out ever, but my wife does. My daughter doesn't want her let out, but my wife insists that she needs to get out. So the cat even today wanted to go out. She'll go out, and like 30 seconds or a minute later, she doesn't act like she wants to come back in. Then my wife will open the door and just... She ain't lasting more than 30 seconds out there, obviously. But she wants to go out. That's what's funny. The dog has to go out for bathroom, but she only goes out for 2 to 3 minutes, I would say. All right. Well, this is very sad. 3 brothers die in North Texas frozen pond. Mother says she couldn't save them. She told them to stay away from the lake right by their house. 6, 8, and 9-year-old. They went out on the ice and they fell through. She tried to rescue them. She went under the water, and she said she jumped. As soon as she jumped in, she locked up. She couldn't do anything while she watched her children drown. One of the children was under the water, never came up. So this is in Fannin County in Bonham, where our friends have land, and our developers in Bonham. That's terrible. So I've been there a few times. My son has too. He shoots there regularly with his friend. A football coach nearby saw this, and while the mom was in there and got locked up, he rescued her by throwing a rope to her. Here we go. Librarians are crazed leftists. Not all, but many. Librarian in Ripley, West Virginia, accused of trying to recruit people to assassinate Donald Trump. Have you seen this woman? I should have shown you her picture. I don't think I pulled it up for you. I should have. Obese woman with skeleton mask, a skeleton sweatshirt, has been arrested. She doesn't look like she's happy. She literally, the sheriff says, when you saddle up on the horse of stupidity, you have to be prepared to follow the ride to follow. That's kind of where we're at. The caption says, it's video footage showing her with the caption that says, surely a sniper with a terminal illness can't be a big ask out of $334 million. Looking to have somebody that would kill President Trump sickly. Comments recently made, the library said this, comments recently made by an employee do not reflect the mission, values, or standards of conduct of our organization. Are you sure? Are you sure the library's position is that somebody should assassinate Trump? Are you sure? You think? That's funny. DHS confirms, this is great, ICE will be at the Super Bowl. Yeah! ICE will be at the Super Bowl. Yay! Hold on, I got a little sound for you there. ICE will be at the Super Bowl. Who's with me?
Oh, Hercules.
There we go. Yeah! ICE is going to be at the Super Bowl. Woohoo! Hey, there's a guy who wears dresses named Bad Bunny. He might be up on the stage. Cuff him and stuff him, please. Deport his ass. Excuse my language. Let's have a nice little bit of positive news. Here is President Trump getting prayed for in Iowa. He stopped off in Iowa today for trying to drum up good publicity for the midterms. I think we're going to get our asses handed to us. I hope I'm wrong. I think we're screwed for the midterms. I really do, and that's going to stop Trump. All they're going to do is try to impeach him. I think we're going to get our asses handed to us. I really do. I hope not, but I think we're going to. I hate saying that. Here is Trump getting prayed for. They asked if they could pray for him in Iowa today.
Praise God for you. Great believers here, boss. Can I pray for you real quick? Absolutely. Come on. All right. Lord God, give you thanks for this president, Lord. Thank you for Canada protection. Yes. I pray for continued wisdom. I pray for discernment. I pray for help. I pray for more peace, Lord. And just pray for just protection against the world, the devils, the flesh, and all principalities, Lord. Thanks for this opportunity to pray. Amen.
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And he said, absolutely enthusiastically, yes, you can pray for me. That's an amazing thing to do and have for our president. Thank you, Donald J. Trump. And thank you to that man who prayed for him. That was awesome. We have baby eaglets. This is the most important thing I'll show you today. Look at these baby eaglets. These little babies isn't that so cute? These are two baby bald eagles that hatched near Dallas during Texas winter storm, Fox 4 reports. This is a live 24/7 stream. It's a freeze frame from it. John Bunker Sands Wetland Center near Texas. Newborn eaglets being cared for by seasoned parents who have nested at the center since 2014. That's wonderful. The chicks will remain in the nest for several weeks and are expected to begin attempting flight by April. Look at those beautiful, those are bald freaking eagles, dude. Bald eagles. Let's see them again. This is so cool. Bald eagles. They're little and precious right there. Don't eat them. They're federally protected for obvious reasons. Don't eat them. I'll see you tomorrow on the Chris Crock Show on Crock Talk.